So on to a sometimes touchy topic. What should I do when someone becomes overly confrontational in my small group?
People are fun. Community is rough sometimes. People get confrontational. And as a small group leader, you are the chief relational architect of your group. And so I think the first thing I do when somebody's confrontational in one of my groups is I just try to remember to ask the question, why is this person confrontational, and what are they confrontational about? In other words, are they being confrontational over a doctrine issue? Like, is there something you're discussing in your group that they just keep being kind of hard-nosed about and banging everybody else over the head over what they should believe or what they should think? Are they being confrontational relationally? Is it that they've just got some relational issues that make it hard for them to engage in other people? But being able to pinpoint what they're being confrontational over can actually help guide us and navigate us in how we engage that and how we confront the confrontation. I think the second question I ask is, where do I need to dig deeper? I've found that I have a spiritual gift of jumping to conclusions and making assumptions. So I can very easily, when somebody's being confrontational or just causing a little bit of mess relationally in a group, it's very easy for me to start making assumptions about their character and about why they're doing that. And so sometimes just taking the person aside and just making some observations about their behavior or about how they make people feel, reminding them about what the community is supposed to be about, and then just kind of digging around a little bit into their story, into how they're feeling. Asking the right questions at the right time can help us dig out maybe why that person's being confrontational. And then the third thing I like to ask kind of myself is just, how is this going to be a growth opportunity for all of us? And that gives me the right perspective that this isn't about the group versus the person or that person against this person. It's about when we're trying to grow as the body of Christ, it's all of us doing this together and growing together. So how can I grow as a leader? How can the other people in the group grow? And how can the person who's being confrontational, who needs to be confronted, how can they grow in the process? And then asking the question forth, what needs to change? Is there something about the way the person interacts and engages? Does that need to change? Is there something about the way we're running the group that needs to change? But just asking what change needs to happen and how does it need to change, who needs to be involved, and when does it change? And a lot of times when you get to that stage, I would say it's helpful to engage someone who is in leadership over you. That might be a pastor at the church, it might be a coach, it might be someone who's charged with running small group or community life at your church, but engage leadership to talk about what appropriate actions you may need to take. I'll be very honest, I've asked people before to leave groups. And that's a really, really hard decision to make. It's a hard call to make. But whenever I make that decision, I'm trying to hold two things in tension. I'm trying to think through what's best for the person. Is it best for them to stay involved in the group? Is it going to be best for their spiritual growth, for them to stay connected? But then also holding that intention with what's best for the group. What's going to be most healthy for the group? What are our group goals and what we're trying to be about as a community? And is this person staying in it? Is that going to be good friction that causes us to become more like Christ? Or is it draining the energy and the attention away from what the group is supposed to be about? And so there have been moments, and they've been very few, but there have been times where after I've had a number of conversations with a person and then a conversation with my leadership, I've asked them, I don't think you're a good fit for this group. Really encourage you to be in community, want you to find that. But this one just probably isn't the right one for you. Again, that's a hard call to make. Should only be made with lots of prayer, lots of conversation, and some engagement with leadership. But it's holding those two things in tension so that we can all grow together to be more like Christ.
Very good. A quick follow-up to that, do you have any examples of like when somebody's become confrontational during a group of what you did in that moment?
Hold on, let me think of a good example.
Sure.
A couple that was relatively new to faith, relatively new to the church, relatively new to Christianity, and they wanted to get baptized. And for some reason, the small group leader didn't think they were really ready to be baptized. And started grilling them about their story and trying to get them to explain the gospel very clearly and succinctly. And they just didn't have the language to wrap around it. I mean, about as far as they could get was, we love Jesus and we want to be a part of the church, and So, but I wasn't there for that. I just had to untangle that later. But that's when it's really fun, when it's your small group leader versus somebody else. When the small group leader is the one being confrontational.
Right.